What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Maximus Keys here, back with a brand new episode of your favorite show, Genre Evolution, where we talk about music history. Before this video starts, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with everybody that you know. Nowadays, when we talk about top producers in hip-hop from the 90s, we'll mention legends like Dr. Dre, Jermaine Dupri, and even the RZA of the Wu-Tang Clan. But to me, there's far too many producers that don't get much acknowledgement from the fans or even people on social media, even though they would give their all to hip-hop culture and would help formulate what we listen to today. Which is why on this episode of Genre Evolution, I'm going to be counting down my top 5 underrated 90s hip-hop producers of all time. There's going to be some people that I'll mention and some people that I'm not going to mention that you probably wanted me to mention. So if I miss someone, please leave a comment down below telling your opinions. So without any further ado, let's get to the video. Coming in at number 5, we have a Chicago native by the name of Doug Infinite. Doug Infinite would actually come from the south side of Chicago, just to be exact, and he would also be considered an early pioneer of hip-hop production as well. He would also originally get a start being a b-boy, a DJ, but would eventually fall in love with MCing and producing. And in the past, he actually mentored a young Kanye West. The record that would showcase his production genius would be a record by Common from 1997 called One Day It'll All Make Sense. The two songs that I feel were the most outstanding on the album that he produced would be Real Nigga Quotes and One Too Many. His production style on both songs will be straightforward yet eclectic. On the track One Too Many, he would sample classic hip-hop records such as KRS-One's I'm Still Number One and Curtis Blow's AJ Scratch. He would use those samples as a sound effect ambiance in the music, and will also have a continuous loop of a movie soundtrack from 1976 on a song called Burt Reynolds' House, which would help make the beat pop even more. And in this generation, it seems that when we talk about hip-hop in Chicago, the furthest we'll go is Kanye or Chief Keef. Now, don't get me wrong, that's reliable information as well, but we have to keep going back to certain generations to see who paved the way for us to do what we do, because his beats would be one of the pillars of Chicago hip-hop culture. Now, other records that he would produce in the late 90s and early 2000s was State to State by No ID, Master Ace's Big City, and So Alone by El the Head Toucher featuring Code D. Now, each track that he produced would feature his own version of classic sounding boom bap beats, while at the same time mixing a little bit of his Midwest flavor into it. And with all the work that he's put in, I still believe that he is very criminally underrated and needs his respect ASAP. Coming in at number 4 is a man that I feel is very criminally underrated when it comes to putting on for Houston, Texas hip hop, and his name is DJ Ready Red from the Ghetto Boys. DJ Ready Red is one of the most influential producers to ever contribute to the early sounds of Southern hip hop and even the early sounds of horrorcore during the late 80s and even early 90s. Even though he was originally from New Jersey, he would end up moving to Houston, Texas, where he would become an official member of the Ghetto Boys as the DJ, producer, and even the MC. DJ Ready Red would even produce the first horrorcore song of all time by the Ghetto Boys, titled Assassins, from their debut record, Making Trouble, back in 1988. However, his production skills would end up progressing towards the 90s. On the record The Ghetto Boys, there would actually be a remix to the song Assassins, which DJ Ready Red would be a part of, and it would be that version of Assassins that would actually be covered by the Insane Clown Posse back in 1999 off of their album The Amazing Jackal Brothers. DJ Ready Red was also the first producer to ever use Scarface samples. Not sure if you knew, but I just figured that I'd mention it. Another great song off of the Ghetto Boys album would have to be Scarface, produced by DJ Ready Red, and the whole Ghetto Boys album itself was just straight classic Houston, Texas hip hop, thanks to the contribution of DJ Ready Red. But unfortunately, DJ Ready Red would leave the Ghetto Boys during the first leg of the 90s. However, that did not mean that was the end of his production career. Throughout the 90s, he would end up producing for groups such as the Black Monks and the Gunslingers. One of the best songs that he ever produced for the Gunslingers would have to be a song called Protect Yourself. Another song that you can look up that he produced as well is a song by K-Stone called Victim of Society, which is arguably one of his most funkiest beats alive. With all of that information that I just gave about DJ Ready Red, it's interesting how we gave a lot to the culture of Southern rap and helping mold the Houston, Texas sound, then would later on leave to do his own production outside of the Ghetto Boys, and yet hasn't gotten enough of his flowers. It's kinda messed up. Coming in at number 3, we have the West Coast hip-hop legend Sir Jinx. Sir Jinx actually got his career started in the mid-80s as a part of the hip-hop duo The Stereo Crew, which featured a young Ice Cube. They would have a deal with Epic Records releasing a song called She's a Skag in 1986. However, both Jinx and Cube would get dropped from the label due to low sales. But soon after that, him, Ice Cube, another young MC by the name of KD, would start the group CIA, aka Crew in Action, and they would end up releasing a song called My Posse. Later on in the late 80s, he would go on to produce a track called You Better Think by Dazzy D and another track called Slipping in the Darkness back in 1989. After the end of NWA, Sir Jinx would end up becoming Ice Cube's primary producer. Sir Jinx will be one of the producers for Ice Cube's solo debut album, America's Most Wanted, while also collaborating with the production team, The Bomb Squad, released in 1990, and he would even produce tracks on the Death Certificate album, released in 1991 as well. Because of Sir Jinx, Ice Cube would have a signature sound on all of his early records, which would actually set him apart from all of his peers from NWA. The beats that Sir Jinx would produce for Ice Cube, like Look Who's Burnin', It's a Man's World featuring Yo-Yo, and even The Drive-By would be heavily funk-based, which gave a heavy punch for West Coast rap. He would even produce Ice Cube's greatest diss track of all time, No Vaseline. Aside from Ice Cube, he would help produce for artists such as WC, Yo-Yo, and even Coogee Rap. Sir Jinx is a hip-hop legend and deserves his flowers right away. Coming in at number 2 on this list, we have the one and only True Master. It was a little hard for me to choose who connected to Wu-Tang is the most underrated, and a lot of them deserve to be on this list, but once again, this is top 5. It's hurting me, but we gotta do it. True Master would gain his notoriety as a producer / affiliated member of the Wu-Tang Clan. He would even be a member of the production team Wu Elements. He would produce for the Wu brand from the 90s and the 2000s. True Master would be one of the guiding forces in the Wu-Tang camp to help mold the Shaolin sound. Brooklyn Zoo by Old Dirty Bastard would be the first song that he would produce connected to the Wu. It would hit number 5 on the maxi singles / hot dance charts, number 40 on the hot R&B and hip hop singles and track charts, number 5 on the hot rap singles charts, and number 54 on the Billboard Hot 100. The beat itself was actually a very clever sample flip of a jazz piano, which would actually help put more emphasis within the music, which worked for Old Dirty Bastard's personality. True Master would continue his streak of producer for Guru on a track called Looking Through the Darkness. And by the late 90s, True Master would go on to keep producing more Wu-Tang classics, one of them being the track Fish by Ghostface Killah. He would also produce RZA's Tragedy, Cross My Heart by Killer Priest, and would produce many other records for Method Man, Inspector Deck, the Wu-Tang group Sons of Man, and even You God. His resume of singles and hits that he would produce would be more than a million miles long, and it would continue on throughout the 2000s. He would produce for KRS-One's record Meta Historical, another single by Raekwon called Fat Lady Sings off of the Only Built for Cuban Links Part 2 album, and he even had his hands on the production side of the Afro Samurai soundtrack on a track called Take Sword Part 2. His solo album Master Craftsman from 2013 has even gotten respect amongst Wu fans, and the dirty grittiness of the beats will continue to develop the Wu-Tang sound, all thanks to the legend True Master. Coming in at number 1 is the DJ / producer and 1/3 of Naughty by Nature, the one and only DJ KG. Now, part of the reason why I put him number 1 on this list in particular is because of the fact that everyone has danced to the music that he has produced for years and years and years, yet a lot of people don't seem to mention him in the same list as Jermaine Dupri and Dr. Dre. KG would come from East Orange, New Jersey, and would get his start with Naughty by Nature back in the 80s. Being a DJ in the 80s, he needed backup, so he would ask his friend Vinny, aka Vinrock, from Naughty by Nature to beatbox for him. And eventually they would get in touch with Tretch, who was in KG's health class, and he went by the name Tiny T Treachery, but eventually would change his name to just Tretch. Vinny, Tretch, and KG would eventually come together to start a group, and they would call themselves The New Style, naming themselves after the Beastie Boys song. KG would show off some of his production skills on their 1989 record, Independent Leaders, released under MCA Records. The group was eventually founded by Queen Latifah, and they would eventually join the collective called the Flavor Unit. And they would end up changing their names to Naughty by Nature, naming themselves after a song of theirs. And after they would join the Flavor Unit, they would eventually get signed to Tommy Boy Records, and they would end up releasing their Tommy Boy debut, titled Naughty by Nature, in 1991. KG would produce the hits OPP, Uptown Anthem, and Ghetto Bastard, aka Everything's Gonna Be Alright. And it would be that record that would help mold the sounds of early 90s New Jersey hip hop, with the consistent drum beats that KG would either sample or even program. In 1993, Naughty by Nature will release their second record under Tommy Boy titled 1993, which would feature hit singles such as It's On, Written on Your Kitten, and the hit that everybody knows to this day, Hip Hop Hooray. And right away, Hip Hop Hooray would become a bona fide hip hop classic. But KG was on a heavy streak after this. During the heavy prime of Naughty by Nature, KG will go on to produce for more people and expand his resume the same year of 1993. He will go on to produce UNITY by Queen Latifah, Run DMC's Hit 'Em Hard, and my personal favorite, Cruise Pop by the Youngsters. During his hip-hop success, he would go on to merge some of that hip-hop charm into the R&B market. And a result of that was a song that he would produce by a group called Janae, titled Hey Mr. DJ. He would keep the steam going throughout the mid-90s, producing Naughty by Nature's 1995 release, Poverty's Paradise. The hits that he would produce from the record would be Hang Out and Hustle, Clap Your Hands, Feel Me Flow, and my personal favorite track off the album, The Craziest. And towards the late 90s, he would go on to produce for more R&B and hip-hop acts. He would end up producing the hit songs Too Close and Butter Love by Next, and that's just to name a couple, Miss You by Biggie Smalls and 112, and Aaliyah's A Girl Like You featuring Tretch from Naughty by Nature. KG continued production in the 2000s, producing for groups and artists like Next, Jaheim, and even Urban Mystic. KG's production skills are very impeccable, and I think he deserves a lot more credit than what he's given today, because even if you've never heard of the name KG or even Naughty by Nature, you still have heard one of their songs at one point in your life, and that's just facts. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you guys for pressing this video, taking the time to listen to me speak. This was a very hard list to make, I promise you. Please put your opinions in the comment section. Please like, subscribe, send this video to everybody that you know, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.